For the proving the Pythagorean theorem activity, you are going to start by getting a piece of graph paper. You can make any size right triangle you want. However, I will give you some side lengths that will make it easier. If you pick anything, you might end up with side lengths that are decimals and not whole boxes. So I'll give you some that will just use whole boxes, and that will make it easier to count the boxes and do the activity and less measuring that you have to do. So for my side lengths for this example, which you will not use, I'm going to use the side lengths of 3, 4, and 5. So on your graph paper, you're going to draw a triangle with those side lengths. So my first one will be 3. My second one will be 4. And then the longest one is always going to be your hypotenuse. So that would be the one across from the right angle. So that's just connecting these two sides. And this is the one that might end up being decimals if you don't use the side lengths that I will suggest for you. And then once you have your triangle drawn on your graph, you are going to make squares off of each side. So we'll do this as a red side. So it's 3 to make a square. It has to be 3 on all sides. So I'm just going to make a square. And then the next one is 4 across. So I'm just going to make a square. So I go 4 down. And then I'll make a square on the last side. And this one might run into my numbers. When you do this, make sure you're cutting in the middle of your paper. That way it doesn't run into anything. You will need to use a ruler for this. So you'll want to use a ruler to measure this distance. Mine would be 5 centimeters or whatever you're using to measure. And then I'll measure 5 centimeters out this way, and 5 centimeters, and 5 centimeters. And then what you're going to do after you've measured that, again, you're using a ruler, so all your measurements have to be precise for this to work. Then you're going to cut out all your triangles. So I would cut out, your squares. I would cut out this square, cut out this square, cut out this square. And then you're going to take your big square and you'll lie it flat. You'll actually put it in this document. You can glue it down here. So I'll cut that. The green one was my biggest square, so I will glue my biggest square down first. And I'm going to, you'll be able to see all these boxes in here. And then I'm going to glue on top my next biggest one, so that's my blue one. So right on top of that, I'm going to glue my blue one right on top of that. So that might look like this. And then I've got space around the edges. And then what you're going to do with your last triangle, so for me that is my red one here, is I'm going to cut the red one up. So I might cut it down the middle here. And then that will fit right here. You want to cut it to fit. And then with the last piece it'll go here, and there should be one left piece that'll go here. So if you've measured precisely, you put your big triangle, your big square on the bottom, glue it down. Then you're going to put your next biggest square, line up in the corner, and then you'll cut your smallest square up, and it should fit perfectly to cover your bottom square. If it doesn't, then you may have measured incorrectly. If your squares are too big to glue on this piece of paper, you can just do this separately and then staple them to the paper, and that would work as well. And then after you've done that, make sure you answer the question. So explain how this proves Pythagorean theorem. You do not need to give me a whole bunch of information. Just what do you think? Do you think this would work for a triangle that's not a right triangle? And then give me some kind of explanation of why you think that. You might want to try doing that same activity that we just did, but start off with a triangle that's not a right triangle and make those squares and see, can you line them all up? Read the article about a new proof for the Pythagorean theorem and tell me what thoughts, questions, concerns, anything that was going through your mind as you were reading that article.